Hi guys, it's Bren with Kindred Acres, and today I'm working on our mini orchard, doing back to Eden style flooring for the orchard in our mini food forest. And I wanted to go over a few little tips that I have for those of you that are interested in starting your back to Eden garden. Now, this is not for an existing back to Eden garden. I'll go over some tips on maintaining an existing back to Eden garden in a different video. This is more for when you're getting ready to start a brand new back to Eden garden. And so I'm going to share with you a few tips that will help save you some time and headache in the future, and a few questions I'll answer that I often get on my garden page that I think would be helpful for you to know as well. So let's check it out. Hey guys, so I wanted to talk a little bit about back to Eden gardening. And so we do back to Eden, and we're actually doing our food forest floor in the orchard here. Here's our little baby pomegranate tree, and we've got fruit trees at the corners, the edges of the mini orchard here. And so basically we're planting right now our annuals in here for fall planting, and come spring we're actually going to be planting a lot more perennials in here. And so this whole food forest section will pretty much be self-run. It'll take care of itself. So what I wanted to share with you though is how to do the back to Eden gardening without issues, because a lot of people will run into these issues. Even I did when I first started many moons ago on learning back to Eden. So the biggest tip I could give you is you want to lay down. First, you start by mowing your grass down to the dirt as low as your mower will go. And then you want to lay down your sheet mulching, making sure you overlap your seams by a couple of inches. So your sheet mulching choices could be newspaper. If you use cardboard, realize that you're going to have to wait a little bit before you put your plant in or cut through the cardboard, because cardboard is really thick and takes a while to break down, and the plants will run into some issues using cardboard. So cardboard is a good thing to use if you're doing this in late fall and planning to let it overwinter. But if you're planning to use it right away, I strongly suggest you go with the newspaper or contractor paper. And I'll show you what that looks like in a minute. So you want to lay out your sheet mulching and then lay on your wood chips at least 6 inches thick. It's going to settle down, and by the time it settles down, you're probably going to only be down to about 3 inches. So if you need to layer more on top later once it settles, that's fine, or do it all at once and lay it even deeper than 6 inches. And then here's a couple of tips that I would strongly suggest for you. One is to not walk on it. You want to wait at least 2 weeks before you walk on it, because especially if it's raining or wet, because what happens is the pressure of you walking on it is going to break that paper below, and every crack and break in the paper is an opportunity for grass to come up, and then you're going to end up with a headache. So just don't walk on it, let it rest and snuff out that grass. And so at least 2 weeks. If you absolutely can't wait, then the other option would be to use the cardboard, because it's much more sturdy. And then when you do what I'm about to tell you about digging your trenches, then you're going to have to just cut through the cardboard to expose the soil. So the next step is making your trenches where you're going to be putting your plants. You don't want to plant in the wood chips. You will end up with nitrogen and all kinds of nutrient deficiencies. So what you're going to do is take your hoe and just make your trench. And so I don't know if you can see the different depths here in the camera. From my view, it doesn't look like it's showing well, so I'll run my hand along it. So here is my mounds. This is how high the mulch is, and then it goes down all the way to here and then back up. So you want to dig your trench. And then here is the next big important tip. Now, if you have cardboard, the cardboard would still be intact. So you'll just go run along and just take with a safety knife and cut out your area where your cardboard is. And then, because you want to get to the soil, that's the biggest thing, is exposing the soil. Here's that tip that I was going to tell you where I messed up is once you dig your trench, it's really important to lay more paper down in the trench, but it has to be the paper. It cannot be cardboard, because like I said, you'll end up with deficiencies. This is the rolls of contractor paper. It's very thin, and the roots of the plants can get right through that. Think of a Jiffy pot. If you've ever planted in a Jiffy pot before, you know that once the seeds grow big for the pot, you'll see the roots coming out of the pot itself. Well, this is much thinner than a Jiffy pot, and when it gets wet, it's very, very easy to rip, and the plant's roots can definitely get through that. So what you do is you cut these little strips like I did here, and you line your trench with these strips, making sure to overlap them, and you'll put your seeds right on here, and then cover it with just like a little handful, not deep, you know, obviously you don't want to smother out the seeds. Cover it with just a little bit of mulch or compost, and then once the seeds germinate, now make sure you want to, you know, tuck this in once it's all done. And I'll show you a trench that's done. Actually, the one we were initially looking at was done. But before I go there, I want to show you why it's important. If you don't do that, you're going to end up with this mistake. The grass is going to take advantage of an open soil. Once you expose it and you put your seeds down in there, the grass is going to take advantage, because those roots, even though you don't see grass at the time, the roots are still very much alive, especially for an invasive grass like this Bermuda grass. You want to make sure that you put your paper down and put the seeds on top of the paper, and that will help prevent the grass from coming up. So as long as it doesn't get sunlight and it's snuffed out, this is what it looks like when it's all said and done. You can see here that the plants have no nitrogen deficiency, no nutrient deficiency. They're very happy. And so what you'll do is just kind of, you can see here it's in a cavity, like it's high here, and it's just basically in a channel right now. And that's the best way to do it. And as the plant gets a little bit bigger, you can go ahead and push the wood chips in more and like kind of snug it up there. And this is what the finished channels look like. You can't see any of the paper. The paper's all tucked in. You're gonna gently pile the mulch over the edges of the paper to just kind of keep it all tucked in, and you'll see that there's no grass coming up in here. Now these were done correct. This was done very rushed because the rain was coming, and that's what happens when you rush or you don't feel like doing it the right way. You're gonna end up with a big headache. So don't do that. So what I'm going to have to do now is I'm actually going to have to go and hoe my trench through here again, pull all that grass up, lay my strips of paper, put new seeds, and start again. So I wasted seeds and time because I didn't lay the strips of paper down. So it's really important that you lay those strips of paper down. Well, I hope this helps you guys, and see, here's another one coming up. I just have a little bit of azomite powder in there, so if you see that white stuff, that's azomite. I hope this helps some of you, save you some time, and have a very good, prolific, happy, healthy garden. Another tip I did want to add too, because this is another question I get a lot on my garden page, is, oh my goodness, what do? There's mushrooms in my garden. Well, let me show you something. Let me come over here, because it seems to be more over here. Mushrooms in the garden are actually a fabulous sign. So look, we've got clusters of mushrooms all over our garden, and that is a wonderful thing. These mushrooms are actually, now what you're seeing is the caps. The actual mushroom spores are all in the ground, and they're breaking down this compost. And the mushroom caps on top will eventually break down as well and turn to more food, more compost. People buy bags of mushroom compost. Well, here you're making your own. So when you see this, don't panic. It's actually a very good sign that you have some good fertile soil and that it's breaking down nicely under there. It's not going to hurt anything. Just don't eat them and you're fine. I don't recommend eating wild mushrooms if you don't know what you're doing. Take courses on it if you plan to, but as long as you're just leaving them be, they will break down when it starts to dry out some. It's been very wet here, so there's a little bit more mushrooms than normal, but they'll break down, and they're actually doing you a wonderful favor, breaking down your wood chips to turn it into great food source for your plants. So Anyway, happy gardening and love from Kindred Acres. Enjoy, and don't forget to hit subscribe, hit the bell, give us a thumbs up. It really helps our page and it lets me to know that you're enjoying these videos and that I should keep going and making more. Bye.